for resuming debate, the honourable member from Saskatoon University. And I'd like to let the honourable member know he just has under 7 minutes for his first part of his speech.
Liberals being greasy. Greasy Liberals. This is what we're here. They're fighting. For everyone watching today online or in the galleries, they're fighting the turning over of evidence to the RCMP. This is what it is. We just heard from my honourable colleague from the NDP, and they have been propping up the Liberals, but they're talking a big game that they're going to force that evidence over to the RCMP. We'll see if they stay true to their word, because we've seen this time and time and time again, where the NDP gets in a pickle, and you know what their number one priority? It's not you, it's their leader's pension. We know that we're not going to have an election until after February of next year, if the NDP and the Liberals get their way. And a part of that is to shut down debate and motions such as the one we are debating today. So let's recount what happened. There's a tech fund that was set up, the Green Slush fund, that actually functioned before the Liberals arrived on the scene quite properly. We had an independent board that didn't have conflicts of interest. We had professional bureaucrats that administer that fund, and those professional staff we need to be thankful of, because this is how we found out how greasy the Liberals have become. We found out from whistleblowers on how badly that this fund was mismanaged for the benefit of board members and the chair. We learned that over almost $400 million that was doled out improperly to 186 examples of conflict of interest. I'm old enough to remember when a $16 glass of orange juice expensed was headline news from cover to cover for weeks on end. Fast forward to today. It's not $16 glass of orange juice we're debating, Canadians. It's $400 million of your tax dollars that went into Liberal insiders and programs that didn't even qualify. Projects that didn't even qualify for the Green Slush Fund got your money. If you're upset, you should be, because these Liberals have been robbing Canadians blind, and they're doing this now with the help of the NDP. And we're going to be watching this shortly, because what will happen is that, you know, the NDP leader loves his pension, and there's no way that he's going to break up with these Liberals. And we saw this earlier. We heard these big pronunciation that he's ripped up the agreement. And just in the last 24 hours, we heard how the NDP are actually going to side with the Liberals. And they're going to side just a little bit, just a temporary. And that's the problem. And that there's no temporary divorce from the Liberal NDP coalition. They've always been there. They're always there. They want big government, big taxing governments that spend money on everything, not worrying about who's actually picking up the tab. But good news, Canadians. Hope is on its way. Dawn is breaking, and we are seeing the difference across Canada. That now we have the NDP.
I'm going to ask the honourable member from Courtenay, Alberni, to please not take the floor unless recognized by the chair. The honourable member from Saskatoon University.
Well, the member wanted to heckle about the $250 bribe, and that's what this is. It's a check that our NDP Liberal coalition.
Point of order, the honourable member from Courtenay, Alberni.
Mr. Speaker, I was talking about the Leader of the Opposition's 250.
That sounds like a debate to me. The honourable member from Saskatoon University.
I thank the member. We can talk about their leader's pension and how ridiculous that a country is held hostage until he vestifies his pension in February, and more Canadians are finding out about this. They think it's a travesty. It's an insult to democracy that we have this coalition, this unholy coalition, that is holding this place hostage because of their ideologically bent ways that they would like to tax everything, anything that moves in Canada. Make sure you tax, and if it's still moving, make sure you're regulating, and if it's not dead, well, there's me. This is a little bit of what we are facing here in Ottawa is that these Liberals are hell-bent on enriching their friends. And that's what we're here debating, is the Green Slush Fund, where we know that the chairwoman of that fund gave money to her company that she owned. And it's not just these Liberal insiders. It's the Liberal Minister of the Environment gave Recycle, his company, we're talking millions of dollars. And how Canadians are accepting this, and really they're not. And that's why we're here today, because for the countless people that have wrote in and emailed me and wanting to encourage me to find answers of where their money went. Well, this is their money. This is their $400 million. To the Canadians waiting at a food bank right now in line to get food to provide for your family. You know where that meal could have came from? Somewhat of this $400 million that have gone to Liberal insiders that had nothing to do with the program parameters that was set up. These are real dollars. These are real Canadian tax dollars that are being wasted. Meanwhile, we have a cost of living crisis where 1 in 4 Canadians are foregoing meals because of the cost of living crisis caused by these Liberals, because they've spent money in ways that this Green Fund has never been meant to do, which is to enrich friends and direct Liberals and people from the governing party, which is wrong. And that's why in my second half of my speech after question period, I'm going to go through some of what the whistleblowers have reported on what has been transpired in this fund. Stay tuned. I will be back after QP.
Can't wait.
The honourable member will have 13 minutes and 40 seconds left in his speech when we come back to this Resuming
matter.
debate, the honourable member from Saskatoon University has 13 minutes and 40 seconds remaining in debate.
Calling the cops. That's the stage that we're at in this most recent Liberal scandal. Calling the cops. Why are we here? Well, there is evidence that the Liberals have on the SDTC Green Slush Fund that they're refusing an order from this place, Parliament, where no higher than the 338 men and women that get sent here to represent the 40 million Canadians, no higher. How our Constitution is written is no higher power than the majority will of this space. And this space has voted that the Liberals have to turn over the evidence to the RCMP. And they're refusing. And that's why we're here today. So if anyone asks, if you're tuning in for the first time and wondering, what's this SDTC all about? Well, it's about Liberal insiders getting rich, and now we're at that point is them getting caught. Because the evidence is out there. We know that there is a stink around this fund. We know that the chairperson of this fund was caught funneling money to her own company. We know the environment minister himself has funneled money to Recycle, the company that he owns as well, which stinks to high. Like this, it doesn't shock anybody. Anyone that's been watching this place knows that in the end, the Liberals get caught funneling money to Liberal insiders. And how they did it with this fund is that they changed the board. So when the Liberals got elected, they got rid of the board and appointed members that they support, or more importantly, members to the board that support the Liberals. And then the money flowed. We're talking hundreds of millions of dollars. So in the scale of all the scandals that the Liberals have done, the $40 million sponsorship scandal, all the other scandals that this government has been known for, this one takes the cake. This one takes the cake because of, I would say, the whistleblowers. And this is where I think the Liberals are the most concerned about evidence going to the RCMP, is because we know some of the evidence that has been released, which has been pretty bad to start with. So we had whistleblowers. So just for the people that are tuning in, we know that how corrupt the Liberals are, and some of the people they put in places obviously are put there to influence and to enrich other fellow Liberals. But then we have the bureaucrats out here that are trying their best to minister the will of the government. It doesn't matter who's in government. Their job is to minister the will of whoever is in government, or whoever, or whatever decisions come out of here with the majority decisions from members. And these people, they've been around. They've been around scandals before. They've been around this town. They've been around Liberals before. So it shouldn't shock us, but you wouldn't believe what some of these whistleblowers have been saying about these Liberals. We have one whistleblower that just quote, "Just as I was always confident that the Auditor General would confirm the financial mismanagement at SDTC, I remain equally confident that the RCMP will substantially the criminal activities that occurred within this organization." When you have whistleblowers making a statement that the RCMP will find acts of criminal misbehaving is telling. We have other whistleblowers, open quote, "Again, if you bring in the RCMP and they do their investigation, they will find something." That's it. That is what the Liberals have shut down this place over. They cannot hand over any more evidence to the RCMP. Of the evidence that people do know, such as this whistleblower, and I quote, "Again, if you bring in the RCMP and they do their investigation, and they will find something." That set off alarm bells throughout the Liberal government and party. They were concerned about, okay, which one of their relatives got rich in this scandal? Oh, or which minister, while sitting at the cabinet table, making decisions on where to spend Canadian taxpayers' dollars, decides to spend it on, well, his own company. How criminally, morally, ethically bankrupt these Liberals are. Let's hear another quote from people that work closely with the Liberals. "I think the Auditor General investigation was more of a cursory review. I don't think the goal of the mandate of the Auditor General's office is to actually look into criminality. I'm not surprised by the fact that they haven't found anything criminal because they're not looking at intent. If their investigation was focused on intent, of course they would find the criminality." End quote. We have long-serving servants of our government, of government of all stripes in Canada, waving the alarm bells on what happened here. And this is a pattern where Liberals get themselves into a pickle. They find a solution for their troubles, not for what troubles Canadians. And they utilize their power of position to sweep it under the rug. And we've seen this before on foreign influence. We've seen this on other scandals. We've seen it on scandals that, like, why we're bringing this up is it's one of the scandals, $400 million, but it's just the latest of the new scandals. Think of some of the times that we've caught these Liberals in questionable activities. Think of the Liberal We scandal, where they gave $500 million to a children's charity that turned around and gave $500,000 to the Prime Minister's mom. This is the level that this is at the top. This is where Liberals get their lessons on morals and ethics. Is that it's from the Prime Minister, and we have a Prime Minister that has been caught breaking the law on conflict of interest. We all know of his famous trip down to the islands to party it up on the taxpayers' dime. And, you know, this is a man that it spends his whole day preaching to Canadians on how you have to change your life for your carbon emissions and you have to change your footprint. Meanwhile, he jet sets all over the world, exposing his hypocrisy on the emissions of his plane out the rear end of it. And it's such a hypocrite of him to lecture regular day Canadians that how dare you turn the heat up in the middle of winter? How dare you even think that you need to feed your family before you pay your carbon tax? And this is how the ridiculousness of what has transpired in Canada over the last 9 years. We are a farce of a country of what we used to be. There's real problems in our country, in our society, and I go back to the motion at hand is all this criminality and theft from the SDTC, and go back to the purpose of this fund. And it's to help with projects around Canada that would bring a more sustainable environmental and technology solutions. And I've met dozens of different organizations and projects that would qualify for this. Fabulous projects. And I'm just going to update the House on a couple of them that their response from the Green Slush Fund was, no, you cannot have support for your initiative on this. And I think of the Calgary Co-op, Leaf Plastics, or just Leaf, the company Leaf, brought to market a consumer bag that has no plastic. It's disposable, just in your garden. There's no plastics. They brought it to Ottawa. You know what the bureaucrat said? Can't have this. It looks wrong. It doesn't look right for what we're trying to do. It's not the science, but looks. It's always what looks with these guys. But what did that corporation do? Well, they thought, you know what? Why don't we bring a consumer bag to the market that is biodegradable, that you can use it how many times ever you want, but when it gets wet and thrown into the compost bag, it decomposes. And that is a way that we think that we should be tackling some of our challenges in the environment. It's through technology, not taxes. Now we have a technology fund, the SDTC, that should be funding just that. Just that. Is that they should be funding technology so that we get those answers. And instead, we're funding liberal insiders. Liberal insiders getting rich. And this is what has happened in Canada over the last 9 years. And I know my time is almost up. I believe I have 5 more minutes, or 5 more seconds. 5 more minutes. That's fabulous, because we do have some more scandals that we have to go over. And another one was the ArriveCAN. And why this is important is that these are real taxpayers' dollars that think of the people that are waiting at a food bank, maybe right now. Maybe right now that they don't have the means to provide with their family. And we know that there's lots out there. There's over 2 million Canadians relying on a food bank because the Liberals have made the cost of living so expensive in Canada. And it didn't have to be this way. There are tens of millions, if not billions and billions of dollars of waste in Ottawa that could be refocused into helping Canadians get through this terrible time that we're suffering as a country. And one of the classic ones is the $54 million wasted on the ArriveCAN. You got it. It's the app that could have been built in a weekend with under $50,000. That's what the private sector would have done. And you know what these Liberals did? No, we gotta make sure that our Liberal insiders get paid. And on that scandal, we had numerous tech companies that did zero work, but billed for tens of millions of dollars. And this is just the tip of the iceberg of things that we've kind of wasted money on. And this goes right to the ministers of the Crown. That we have the environment minister that has been highlighted how he secretly funneled money into his recycle company. We have the international trade minister which gave over a $16,000 contract sole sourced to a friend. Just a friend. Just you know what? We'll just make the $16,000 payment go to whoever we'd like. And it's nickels and dimes make dollars, Mr. Speaker. It all adds up. So we talk $10 million here, or $54 million for the ArriveCAN, and $400 million for this Green Slush Fund. And it goes on and on and on, the waste. At committee, we've been studying some of the waste at our post-secondary. And we have some silly studies that we've funded as Canadian taxpayers. So if you're struggling right now in Canada, know that your tax dollars went to the UBC to study gender politics and Peruvian rock music. That was $20,000. So if you are working poor, barely getting by, And you're wondering, why do I have to pay all this federal income tax? Well, someone's got to study gender politics and Peruvian rock music. Another one, reframing gender and race in music theory and its pedagogy. Unbelievable that we're spending this kind of money out there. We have a new one, suitably dressed, finding social justice through distinctions in modest fashion for men and women. That's $35,000. So if you're struggling today and you're wanting to know what is your government doing, this is some of the stuff that they're spending money on. Other ones, large-scale archaeological video analysis. That's out of the U of C for $280,000. Here's another one, and it's kind of timing. Narco animals, human-animals relations in Mexican narco culture. That was for $9,266. And I see my time is wrapped up. I'd like to thank everyone for paying attention. I look forward to the questions and comments.